and hi to Dr. Vivi Marilyn. Today, we are going to talk and discuss about teaching aids. The issue we highlight in this discussion is the use of teaching aids by teachers who teach in different areas. Sharon will play a role as a teacher from rural area, Priti as a teacher from urban area, and I, Stephanie Elika, as a teacher who teach in suburban areas. Let us begin! A very good morning to Miss Sharon and Miss Priti. Thank you for your participation in this meeting. We are here to discuss about something that is very important for us as a teacher. It is teaching aid. Without wasting any time, let us begin with the importance of teaching aid. I would love to hear from Miss Priti first to give her opinion about the importance of teaching aid.
Thank you, Miss Stephanie, for the given opportunity. In my opinion, the importance of the teaching aids is to make the classroom live and active. That will also encourage the healthy classroom interaction through the involvement of the students in the classroom. We already know that students with learning disabilities are having hard time to pay attention, and some of them are really passive in the class by not giving any response to the teacher. With these teaching aids, it will make the class more active because it can increase the student curiosity on what topic they will learn. Interaction between teachers and students will be formed when students ask the teacher about the teaching aids brought or shown by the teacher in the classroom. As we know, the student with learning disabilities also having difficulty for remembering and grasp the content or concept that had been taught by the teacher. The use of teaching aids will help provide direct experience to the student with disabilities, for example, through the alphabet flashcards. The student will know the shape of the letters and the use of the letters based on the picture shown on the flashcard. For example, they will know the letter A is for an apple. Now, can I hear from Miss Sharon her opinion for the importance of the teaching aids?
Let us begin. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Miss Priti, for giving me the opportunity to give some thought too. So, I am delighted to be here today to share some thoughts on the importance of teaching aids for pupils too, Miss Priti and Miss Stephanie. Personally, I am totally convinced that teaching aid is one of the most important methods that can encourage and develop children's senses. So, as far as I'm concerned, teaching aids are a way to expose children to as many different senses as possible. So, from my viewpoint, it is quite clear that sensory-based teaching aid can stimulate people's mind, help them discover world around them, and process the information of their senses that they are gathering. Moreover, it is also can help pupils develop their imaginations, creativity, and sense of independence exploration. I think it would be fair to say that all the activities involve sensory stimulation are perfect for promoting learning and development of the pupils. This may sound strange for teachers, especially for those that teach in rural areas, but for me, teaching aid proved to be a formidable supplement for teachers to reinforcement of pupils' skills. So, in a nutshell, let me summarize my main point. Basically, sensory-based teaching aid can give the opportunity to pupils to interact with the content in a way that allows them to comprehend more easily. So, what do you think of my point, Miss Stephanie?
The importance of teaching aid that have been stated by both of you coincide with the advantages of using teaching aid for teachers. I agree with both of you because we as teachers who teach pupils with learning disability need a variety of solutions to gain our pupil attention in the learning session to make our class live and active with their participation. We as teachers also need to take full advantage of sensory input to improve their understanding and learning experience because these pupils with learning disability often have advantages in their senses. In addition, I would like to present my own opinion on the advantages of using teaching aid for my teaching session. In my opinion, as a teacher for special needs pupils who want to apply language skill among the pupils, teaching aid helps in motivating pupils with learning disabilities. As both of you know, pupils with learning disabilities have a low attention span. Their focus is easily distracted and prevent them from following the learning session effectively. Pupils are mostly motivated to take part in the class and to learn new things when they are in touch with the teaching aid. I agree with Miss Sharon's statement about the sensory. It is because my pupils were very excited when I broached interesting teaching aid that they can touch, see and feel. This raises questions for them about the learning that will take place, thus motivating them to join the learning on that day. We as a teacher, especially teachers who teach pupils with learning disability, have to be more creative to create suitable teaching aid for our pupils. There are different types of teaching aid. We have traditional teaching aid, visual teaching aid, mechanical teaching aid, audiovisual teaching aid, and visual material teaching aid. I am very excited to hear the views and opinion from both of you as a teacher in urban and rural areas because these two areas have very different environments and facilities. Can I hear from Miss Pretty first? As a teacher who teach in an urban area, which teaching aid that you apply in your teaching?
As a teacher who teaches in the urban school, I prefer to use the audiovisual teaching aids and mechanical teaching aids because these aids can give a great impact in teaching compared to the teacher's made aids. With these aids, I can use instructional or documentary video to enhance specific subject or topic. Audio-visual aids and mechanical aids are known as instructional method of education that use audio and visual as a mode of learning. These teaching aids encourage the use of ears to hear and the eyes to see what had presented in the video. In my class, I usually use the audio-visual aids by using digital video player like YouTube video, educational DVD, television educational series, slideshow presentation, and the radio. The differences between audiovisual aids and mechanical aids is audiovisual aids require to the internet connection to access the online material, while mechanical aids require ample space to place the aids. These aids are really important to grab the student attention in the class because most of the disabled students easily attracted to any sounds in their environment. So, when the teachers plays the audio from the YouTube video, it will build the student interest and motivation to learn. As we know, pupils with learning disability also cannot pay attention for a long periods of time. So, by displaying the learning video in the classroom, it will attract the students' interest. For example, the teachers plays a song from the YouTube, and while play the song, the teacher asks the students to sing along the songs together. So, these singing activities can avoid the student to feel bored, and at the same time, the student will able to grab the content of the topic that had been taught by the teacher. In my opinion, it will be bored if the teacher just use method chalk and talk in the class, because it only involves the teacher's roles in the learning process, while the student just listen and sit quietly in the classroom.
Pardon me, may I interrupt for a second please, Miss Pretty? You are out of mind and that doesn't make sense to me as a teacher who teaches in rural areas. I don't mean to be negative, but as far as I'm concerned, the online environment only focuses on digital content. However, it's like emphasized on the importance of the learning aspect. So, as an experienced teacher who teaches in rural area, I am glad to say that traditional environment method is more focused on content and providing knowledge in real time. With due respect, please allow me to begin my elaboration. So, in my humble opinion, tradition-based teaching aids will discipline the pupils to be punctual in daily life. In other words, the people will have a specific time for every period and a time for taking a break to learn. This timing is all planned at the beginning, so the people will follow this routine and make them punctual and disciplined. Besides that, traditional teaching aid will also help the pupils to interact with their peers, which help them in character building. So, from way of my thinking, they will learn to share and respect others. This is because traditional teaching aids will provide a conducive environment for them to learn from their friends. That's brilliant, right? According to my experience, if teachers use traditional teaching aids, the pupils will able to have direct interaction with their teachers. This will give the pupils an opportunity to showcase their hidden talent to others. Other than that, this will surely help them to recognize for their talents and able to excel in their daily life.
Excuse me, Miss Sharon, I a bit disagree with the teaching aids that you use in the class to teach the student. I know, as a teacher that teach in rural school, there are many shortcomings that you have to face, especially in terms of digital facilities and technologies. But we must realize, as a teacher, it is a need for us to provide teaching learnings and roles based on the learning characteristics of the 21st century, and we must respond to the government challenge in producing the teachers who have skills in technology. So, I hope you can give proper consideration to these matters and issues.
Well, wait a second, that sounds good. But please, Miss Pretty, maybe you should also consider those teachers who teach in rural areas too, with no internet connection at all. As an experienced teacher who teach in rural areas for a long time, I also strongly say that visual aids are the most effective tool for teachers to use in classroom to enhance the students' interest. Don't you think that visual material actually will help students to study more effective and retain information for a longer period of time? For example, this educational poster can hang on a classroom wall, which serving as a convenient point of reference for the students and also changes the visual appeal of the classroom. Basically, visual learners express themselves through creativity. So, based on the facts, visual learner can remember 75% of what they see or read, so they can take lots of notes. If we are using LCD and online materials, it is not suitable for pupils. This is because LCD is one of the technologies that we can't use for a long time. Why did I say that? Do you ever think that pupils wouldn't have the same level of discipline, especially for those who are in learning disabilities problems? Another important visual teaching aids that I want to talk about is a blackboard. Traditionally, we know that Blackboard is a tool to write the main points of the lesson. This is limited, so I want to use this aid more often. This is because Blackboard is a place where the teachers can show the main content on it. Second one, Blackboard like a piece of paper that teachers and pupils can draw or write on it. The third one, Blackboard is a sticky notes that the teacher uses to write tasks and homework. So to put things together, I couldn't agree with you more. Miss Pretty recommended using online or digital teaching aid. As I said just now, this would be the latest devices, which are the latest gadget for better digital interactive learning. So this is totally impossible for people who are living in rural areas to buy and use these devices.
Wow, it seems like both of you have different opinions due to the environment and the area where you are teaching for special needs pupils. In fact, the opinion of both of you coincide with where you serve, since you both teach in areas that have very different environment from one and another. But for me, I accept all the opinion and point since I teach in a mid-range area that have better facilities than rural areas but not as well as urban areas. Now, I will explain and share my teaching method as a teacher in a suburban area such as teaching a school in a village area. When I teach students with special needs in the suburbs, there is no denying that I still use traditional teaching aid, for example, the use of Blackboard and reference books. This is because most schools in the suburbs still do not have digital facilities such as e-textbook, and the use of digital is still limited and depend entirely on teachers' material. However, I still apply digital usage in my teaching session with the help of projector and laptop. This is because the use of projector and laptop does not require internet access. I just need to prepare teaching materials using slide or video that can be saved offline in my laptop and display them in class. Indirectly, I have applied the use of mechanical teaching aid in class. Some schools in the suburb have projector facilities, but there are some schools that don't have projector, and I as a teacher have to buy my own projector for my daily use. In my view, the use of the projector can interest my students because they can use their senses of sight and hearing to learn instead of listening to the teacher explanation in front of the class. The use of interesting and moving videos or slides can attract students to follow the learning that is being conducted. No doubt, I still need to use digital to help me deliver lessons effectively. I also agree with Miss Pretty's statement a while ago, which stated some of the advantages of using digital teaching aids such as audiovisual teaching aid. Audiovisual teaching aid can also be applied in my teaching as a teacher who teach in suburban area. In the area where I teach, I can still get good internet access in certain areas like at the computer center or public libraries. Therefore, I will take advantage of the opportunities available to create learning videos by applying the sophistication of today's applications such as the CapCut for editing video. In addition, I can also download videos from YouTube as my preparation for the next class. According to my experience, audiovisual teaching aids such as digital flashcards are very helpful in my teaching. Besides attracting pupils' interest to always focus with the use of interesting music and animation, this method is also able to stimulate pupils in improving their language skills, which are listening, speaking, reading, and writing skills. It is because while using audiovisual teaching aids, pupils will be more focused and interested in reading, listening, and speaking about learning topics if the teacher if the teaching aid use are colorful with moving words and animation. Pupils will also understand better if the teacher use methods that stimulate their sense of sight compared to only using verbal explanation that are less interesting. However, some of the teachers in the school are still using textbook only for their teaching method. As a creative teacher, I disagree with the use of textbook and explanation only for teaching pupils with learning disabilities. To teach them, we must be able to attract their interest in learning because they have low cognitive level and other disabilities that can interfere with their learning. As a teacher, we must be able to design and to develop teaching aids based on digital economy and IR 4.0, such as using multimedia resources. Multimedia, for example, the use of slideshow or presentation videos, animation and infographic that can be created using various applications and can be saved offline allows teachers to apply digital learning in rural, suburbs and urban areas because these methods are not completely dependent on the internet line. Do you both agree with my opinion?
That's a splendid idea, Miss Stephanie. Great mind think alike. Now, what I think is, personally, in my humble opinion, multisensory teaching aids actually will help students to make the learning environment interesting and engaging. As we move forward to more digital society, kids are being exposed to technology and digital devices at a younger age. So blackboards are being replaced with whites and smartboard. Maybe all of us should consider that multisensory teaching aid resources will surely integrate visual, auditory, textile, which is touch, and kinesthetic, which is movement, learning, and development. So I strongly believe that different teaching methods activate different parts of the brain. This is because multisensory teaching aid resources will definitely help learners to discover their learning style and the technique which is best for them. Based on the strength of the evidence presented, what can I conclude is that as a teacher who teaches in rural areas, maybe I should try to include sensory support or tools in my classroom too, so that my pupils will learn to use them differently, depending on what their bodies need and how they choose to use the tools. So, is there anything you want to add, Miss Pretty?
Amazing! That was a great idea. Honestly, I agree with both of you. Teaching and learning that only depends on the use of textbook is boring because it only involves text reading activities. This will create difficulties for students with learning disabilities to follow the teaching and learning sessions in the classroom, especially for the dyslexia students who have difficulty in recognizing letters and reading the text. Therefore, this will cause the process of transferring the information between teachers and students will not being efficiently. This is because dyslexia students will feel uninterested in following the learning sessions because they cannot understand what had been taught by the teacher. To developing teaching aids based on digital economy and industry revolution 4.0, it is a need for the teacher using digital tools resources for the teaching and learning sessions. Digital tools is an online learning tools that consists of any websites, program or application that can be accessed via the internet and will enhance teaching and learning. For example, Google Classroom, Google Slides, Zooms, YouTube, and other online materials. The exposure of all students to the digital resources is important to ensure that the teaching and learning sessions will be run smoothly and to ensure the students will obtain the information presented by the teacher. So, it is a need for the teacher to be creative while using any digital tools, resources for the teaching and learning session in the classroom.
So, based on the question and answer and the discussion we made, I can conclude that every teacher needs to be creative in every lesson by using any teaching aid to achieve the learning objective.
For me, I am totally convinced that for most, technology makes things easier, but for others, technology makes things possible. That's all from me. Thank you.
Based on the given argument, I can conclude that every teacher must always think critically, creatively, and innovatively in producing teaching aids that suits to the current needs and at the same time must focus on the facilities provided in a school to ensure that the teaching aids can be used at the maximum level in the classroom.
Okay everyone, we are coming to the end of the discussion. I hope that we gain some knowledge from this discussion and thank you.